All right, let's just jump right into this one. Every once in a while, you stumble upon a document that is so ambitious, so dense, and just so completely out there that you have to take a closer look. What we're breaking down today is a framework that claims to be, well, a unified theory of everything. We're talking physics, human thought, and even theology, all rolled into one single system.
And it all kicks off with this wild question. I mean, really think about it. Forget everything you know about morality or dogma. What if sin wasn't about being good or bad, but was just an error in a calculation? What if it's just a physics problem that needs to be solved? Let's see just how deep this rabbit hole goes. So, first up, we have to tackle the framework's boldest claim, its attempt to basically translate these ancient abstract theological ideas into the cold, hard language of physics. The whole foundation for this rests on an ancient Greek word, hamartia. Now, originally, this was an archery term. It literally just meant to miss the mark. This framework takes that concept literally. So sin is no longer some kind of moral failure, it's a technical one, a vector error. You're simply aiming wrong.
And if you follow that logic, well, it completely rewrites the concept of hell, doesn't it? It stops being this place of eternal punishment cooked up by some angry deity and becomes something else entirely. It's just a state in the system, a state defined by being maximally, totally inefficient.
And look at this. It's a direct, almost one-to-one translation. The fire and brimstone of damnation? That's just thermodynamic heat. The spiritual agony of being separated from God? Nope. That's the infinite maintenance costs you pay to keep a broken system running. It's taking metaphysics and turning it straight into physics.
Which, of course, brings up the most obvious question. How? How on earth do you build a bridge between these two completely separate worlds of thought? Well, the answer is in the core architecture of the whole thing.
And that architecture is built on what the author calls the 49 thought species. Basically, it's a super detailed classification system designed to categorize every single type of thought you could possibly have.
The big metaphor here is biology, right? Just like a biologist would classify an animal into a kingdom, phylum, and species, this system tries to do the exact same thing with our thoughts. Every thought gets its own habitat, its own diet, its own patterns. It's kind of wild.
And the magic number for these fundamental thought patterns, or vectors, is 49. Not 50, not 100, exactly 49. It's this finite structured map for the totally infinite landscape of our own minds. These 49 species are all organized into 7 big categories, or phyla, as they're called here. So you have the identities, which are all about who. You've got the drives, which cover why. The methods are all about how, and it just keeps going. Each one of these is like a fundamental building block of our consciousness.
So let's look at how this all snaps together. Because these 49 species aren't just a random list. They form a perfect 7x7 matrix. It's like a periodic table, but for thought. So every single vector has its own unique coordinate on this grid. Vector 1.2, for example, is where phylum 1, the identities, intersects with the second column. This coordinate system lets you get super precise in defining a thought. Let's look at a couple of examples so you can see what I mean. Okay, here's an easy one. Vector 1.2, or who, what. The system calls this one the role. This is that thought pattern we all use when we define ourselves by what we do. I'm a teacher, or I'm an engineer. It's your identity, defined entirely by your function. But then it can get way more abstract. Check out Vector 4.4, YY, which is called the pure. This is motivation that has zero external reason. It's purpose for the sake of purpose. Art for art's sake. Doing something just because it is the thing to do.
The system is also great at describing processes that are in motion. Take Vector 6.7, cause-effect, also known as the feedback loop. This isn't just a static idea. It's the actual thought structure we use to recognize a self-reinforcing cycle, where the result of an action becomes the cause for the next one. Okay, so now that we've got a handle on how this matrix works, let's circle back to those huge theological ideas from the beginning and see how this framework actually decodes them. So according to this thing, the kingdom of God isn't someplace you go when you die. It's a geometric state of this system. It's a state of perfect harmony and alignment, where all 49 vectors are humming along in global resonance, creating this perfect, frictionless rest frame. And hey, if hell is a state of high friction and the kingdom is a state of zero friction, then there's got to be a way to get from one to the other, right? And of course there is.
The framework calls it the redemption algorithm.
This just perfectly shows you the step-by-step nature of this whole system. Step 1, confession. You figure out which of the 49 vectors has gone haywire. Step 2, surrender. You stop pushing so hard in the wrong direction. Step 3, alignment. You recalibrate that vector back to the system's default setting, the rest frame. It's literally theological salvation as a 3-step debugging process.
And that leads to this really critical redefinition of grace. In this system, grace isn't some gift from the heavens. It's just a property of physics. It's the ability of the entire system, the whole, to absorb the mistake of one tiny part, allowing that part to correct its course without completely shattering from the shock of changing its momentum.
So, after all of that, this 49-vector matrix, a physics of sin, a redemption algorithm, what's the point? What are we supposed to take away from this incredibly complex framework? Well, the author boils it all down to 3 main takeaways. First, everything is physics. The idea that even thought isn't separate from the physical world. Second, a bit more out there, is that everything is Lorentz, which suggests that the way our thoughts operate follows principles a lot like relativity in physics. And finally, and maybe most importantly, everything is practice. This isn't just some neat theory to think about, it's designed to be an operational system you can actually use. And the entire document wraps up with this powerful line. Now, whether you think this is a work of profound genius or just really elaborate nonsense, it does leave you with a fascinating final thought. What actually happens when we stop just theorizing about our reality and start actively operating it? What does that practice even look like?